Hi, I'm Allie Jackson Jolly. I'm here with Jeff Lewis, who is an attorney. He is also the founder of Jeff Lewis Law. Jeff, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy 2024 for the Supreme Court of the United States. It is going to be one that will likely be filled with drama and intrigue, perhaps no more so than the upcoming case around former President Trump, now presidential candidate Trump's right to be on the Colorado ballot, or right for Colorado to keep him off of that ballot. So there's a lot of information and different disinformation out there. Could you let us know, like, what should we be thinking about this case as it goes in front of the Supreme Court on February 8th?
Well, one of the things to think about is the Supreme Court exists to resolve conflicts among the states. And so if Colorado and Maine are taking different approaches as to whether Mr. Trump can appear on the ballot, the Supreme Court brings uniformity so that every state knows what to do and will follow the Supreme Court's guidance in terms of whether President Trump appears on the ballot.
Yeah, and is this groundbreaking? Is there any precedence? What do you think when you see this case? Is this something brand new, or is this something that this country has been through before?
Well, this will be the first time the United States Supreme Court has taken up the question of what does Section 3 of the 14th Amendment mean. There have been lower courts that have grappled with the question. There was a case in New Mexico where a county commissioner was stripped of office based on supporting an insurrection using Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. But this will be the first time this law is being considered or interpreted by the United States Supreme Court and applied to the office of president.
And then the thing that comes to mind for me is that we are like right in the heart of primary season.
Right.
You know, former President Trump, candidate Trump is by far the winner of these primaries so far. Of course, we have a long way to go and a lot more to see. But is this all for naught? Like, is there any feeling that, all these primaries are happening, and yet at the end of the day, if a state is allowed to say a candidate cannot be on their ballot, then all this is just kind of an academic process that's not going to mean anything.
Well, it's not all for naught in this sense. Whatever the Supreme Court says, assuming that it issues a decision on the merits and doesn't dodge the question, not only will give the states direction about whether or not Mr. Trump could appear on the ballot, but also give Congress direction. Because imagine this, there are a few different scenarios where, due to a third party candidate or votes being disputed, where an election could be decided not by electors, but being thrown to Congress. And if that happens, Congress would need to know, what does the 14th Amendment and Section 3 mean? And what should Congress do for a candidate Trump if they are asked or have the question of appointing him to the presidency?
Yeah, well, how about this? There's been a lot in the news over the last year, maybe 2 years, about the waning trust from the public for the Supreme Court of the United States. I think that a lot of political candidates have been losing the American trust, but until recently, the court has sort of been this institution that people believed in and trusted. And yeah, I think the most recent survey I saw was from the Gallup uh, poll, which said I think 40% of Americans trust the Supreme Court of the United States. About that same 40% believe that the Supreme Court has their best interest and is apolitical. And so when I look at a case like this, that as we all know, is going to continue to polarize this country, I wonder, what do you think this case will do for the Supreme Court? What is your view?
Well, yeah, let me just say first, you're absolutely right that the court, unlike Congress, unlike the president, historically has pretty level approval levels. And the president and the Congress kind of go up and down. And so we're seeing an unusual low point in confidence in the United States Supreme Court. And by taking this case, it's kind of a lose-lose for Justice Roberts and institutional trust in the Supreme Court, because here's why. If the Supreme Court were to affirm the Colorado result and leave Trump off the ballot, at that point, those people who support Trump will view it as the Supreme Court interfering with an election, and the conservatives will lose trust in the court. On the other hand, if the Supreme Court reinstates Mr. Trump to the ballot, well, then everybody who believes that the Trump appointees would act in a partisan manner will have their belief confirmed that these justices merely are rewarding Trump for putting them on the court.
So, is there any strategy? Like, I guess by that I mean, do you think head Justice Roberts is, hopeful for a unanimous decision? And if so, um, is there anything that the Supreme Court can do to, try to agree?
Well, yeah, let me say this. Chief Justice Roberts is an institutionalist. He really wants the institution protected and preserved and wants to restore trust. He will do whatever it takes to try to get a unanimous opinion. I think that's too big a hill to climb. I don't think there's going to be unanimous decision. It'll be 5-4, 6-3.
Okay, I like that you actually gave an answer. That was my next question, and I wasn't sure that I was going to get that direct of an answer. So again, February 8th is when the Supreme Court has said they will begin hearing this case. Um, how long do you think this will take? What do you think that we'll see, on the 8th of February? Will this get buried, or do you think they'll want to address this pretty quickly?
They're going to address it quickly. Keep in mind, normally the briefing process in the Supreme Court takes place over several months. And here the Supreme Court has compressed it to 1 month. The parties are getting their briefs filed in 1 month. Argument on the 8th. We're in the middle of primary season. You could expect the Supreme Court to rule in February or early March.
Wow. All right. Well, so we don't have, I thought I was going to say we have a long haul ahead of us. We don't. So what I will say is please come back. I would love to have this conversation again with you. February 8th or a little bit after, mid-February, let's say. I'd look forward to keeping this conversation going.
You can guarantee that the decision that comes down will have lots of parts and concurring decisions and dissenting decisions. It'll take a while for you and me to kind of walk through it, figure out what it all means.
Okay, all right. That is actually more what I expected. So I really appreciate your time, and let's keep this conversation going.
Great. Thank you.